improving the use of stop and search, with the aim of decreasing disproportionality. Stop and search powers allow police officers to search people if they have reasonable grounds. These are Section 1 searches, or if stops in the area have been approved by a senior police officer, Section 60 searches. The searching police officer is required to identify themselves, explain the reason and legal justification for the search, and provide a record of the search. 99.7% of all stop and searches in England and Wales occur under Section 1 of Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984, and a small percent occur under Section 60 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994. However, the use of Section 60 stops has quickly declined over recent years, partially as a result of extremely low arrest rates and high disproportionality. Between March 2015 and 2016, 387,488 stops and searches were recorded across England and Wales. 76% of these resulted in no further action, and 16% resulted in arrest. This is the higher arrest rate since records began in 2002. These arrests were not necessarily related to the reason for the initial search. In 80% of searches, the outcome of the stop was not linked to the initial reason for the stop as a result of negative focus on stop and search. There has been a 28% fall compared to 2014-12, lowest on record. Records began 2002. It is important to note that not all stop and searches are recorded. 2013 MIC estimated that the cost of each 15-minute stop search was £3.75. The MIC did a survey about public perceptions of stop and search which found 55% agreed that the use of stop and search powers in their areas made them feel safer, with only 13% disagreeing. Many also believed that the use of stop and search powers helps the police to catch criminals and prevent crime. 25% of respondents believed stop and search powers are used too often on certain groups. Of those who thought stop and search powers are used on some groups more than others, 58% believed one of the reasons was that members of those groups are more likely to be committing crime. A third of those who thought that stop and search powers are used too often on members of certain groups thought that one of the reasons for this was unlawful discrimination. For black and minority ethnic respondents, over half thought this involved unlawful discrimination. The survey also asked questions about the experiences of those who had been searched. Of the 391 people who had been stopped and searched, 44% said the police didn't act reasonably. 42% said they did not understand why they were stopped and searched. 47% felt they were not treated with respect. And 37% said they were not told the reason why they were stopped and searched. When asked about how their experiences had affected their opinion of the police, 39% said their opinion had diminished, and 32% said it had not changed, and almost a quarter said their experience had improved their opinion of the police, suggesting that the manner in which searches take place is also important to consider. Disproportionality is the disproportionate targeting of BME individuals for stops and searches. It is an issue that has persisted despite years of debate and several police initiatives aimed at tackling the problem. BME individuals at least 3 times more likely to be searched than white individuals, black people at least 6 times more likely, Asian people at least twice more likely. Disproportionality ratios have stayed fairly constant over the past decade. Disproportionality has increased despite overall numbers of searches falling. In 2015-16, total searches on white people fell 38%, while they fell 8% on black people and 13% across all BME groups. Disproportionality rates vary significantly across the country. Resolving or ameliorating the issue of disproportionality is long overdue. Perceived or actual discrimination is often a major contributing factor to the historically poor relationships between police forces and specific BME communities. Operation Swamp, which took place in Brixton in 1981, triggered the Brixton riots. Poor relations between community and police was also highlighted as a contributing factor to the 2011 Tottenham riots. The fact that levels of disproportionality and excess searches of Black and Asian people vary so much around the country indicates that these are products of policing strategy rather than justifiable responses to crime levels or any other social or demographic factor. Causes of disproportionality: availability, racial prejudice and stereotyping. Arguments based on generalizations about some racial groups being more available to stop and search or more likely to commit particular types of crime are highly problematic. The evidence supporting such claims is unreliable, and police officers are legally obliged to have reasonable suspicion that the person involved has committed an offense. Policy alternatives. Continuing current practices would likely lead to no dramatic changes from current trends. Individual police forces will continue to launch their own initiatives. If not dealt with, it is likely that at some stage the issue would return to the agenda in a few years. Increasing data collection would make it easier to gain further understanding about the effectiveness of stops and searches, typical outcomes, and disproportionality. Decreasing drug searches would result in disproportionality falling as drug searches are the most disproportionately targeted at BME individuals. However, the political acceptability of this idea is low, even more so under the current government. There would likely be a public backlash too. Introducing community boards would increase accountability and provide a way to improve BME community and police relationships. Better training and supervision would likely decrease disproportionality and improve the experiences of searchees. The criteria I have selected are: 1. Maximize equality, decrease disproportionality in stop and searches. 2. Increase effectiveness of stop and searches, achieve higher % of outcomes linked to reason for stop. 3. BME community support. 4. Economic cost. 5. Political acceptability. 6. Increase police support for decreasing disproportionality. 7. Robustness and improvability. It is difficult to so broadly generalize about the support or opposition of politicians, police and the BME community, as none of these are homogeneous groups. However, I have done my best using information from the many sources on stop and search policy and other texts to create an outcomes matrix. Confronting the trade-offs. Continue current practices, no change. Increase data collection and using one national form. More information understood about stop and search outcomes, disproportionality, effectiveness of stop and search, also provides resource for police to base strategic stop and search plans on. There would be a minimal additional cost as police already collect similar data. Decrease focus on drug searches, the easiest quick fix for reducing disproportionality as drug searches are the least proportionate. However, there would be a negative political impact as the move may be seen to legitimize low-level drug possession, and the negative effects of low-level drug crime are likely to affect BME and working-class neighborhoods worst. Community boards would be a way to increase police accountability while also improving and developing relationships between BME communities and police. Better training and supervision to ensure the legality of searches. I believe that a combination of some of these policies will best begin the process of decreasing disproportionality and improving the stop and search experience for everyone. I suggest a three-pronged approach. Increased data collection will provide the basis for further research and understanding of disproportionality and the effective use of stop and search on a local and national level. Furthermore, adopting the use of a single stop and search form across all police forces, as has been recommended several times, would make it comparing forces and analyzing national data much easier. Enhanced training would increase the effectiveness of stops, improve the experiences of those who are stopped, and decrease disproportionality. Increased community engagement would begin the process of increasing understanding of the use of stop and search in local communities and building confidence and trust in the police. It would also create an alternative route for complaints and discussion. Despite decades of discussion regarding disproportionality, BME individuals continue to be targeted for stop and searches. Actual or perceived police discrimination dissuades some from going to the police as victims or witnesses. Furthermore, Unequal policing has triggered serious disturbances over past decades. I have attempted to display this disparity and explain why attention should be focused on reducing disproportionality and improving police-BME community relations. Better training, supervision and data collection would be a start in tackling the issue, as they would ensure that police officers know correct policy and are accountable for the stop and searches they do. In order for further progress to be made, police forces should also be encouraged to implement community engagement schemes which enable residents to better understand the use of stop and search in their areas and how to report complaints against police officers when necessary.